Hello and welcome to the Rugby Gods podcast. I'm John Keenan. No mai haere mai. Today is February 24th and now let's talk some rugby. So yeah, this is going to be a wrap up of the Super Rugby week that was, round 4, and it will be a pretty quick brief wrap up of the 2020 Six Nations round 3 as well, which just finished on Sunday with the England-Ireland game. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Super Rugby. So 2020 Super Rugby round 4. Okay, so we had 6 games for round 4. I did a little bit of a preview of those games on Friday. So yeah, now it's time to sort of look back on the round. How did my picks go? How did my thoughts go? And then basically, yeah, just what actually happened, right? So first game of the round was on Friday. It was the Crusaders at home to the Highlanders in Christchurch, and it was 33-13 to the Crusaders. So tries to Sione Havili, George Bridge, Braden Enour, Tom Christie, and Cody Taylor. Conversions, 1 to Mitchell Drummond, 2 to Bryn Hall, and 1 to David Havili. So essentially what happened there is Mo'unga's got some issues with his kicking leg. I believe it's like his hamstring or thigh. So he's just not kicking at all. Basically the start of Super Rugby. I'm sure he'll take back the kicking duties at some stage. But he's basically resting, not basically putting his kicking leg under stress. Which means that David Havili generally then turns up and takes kicks, which he did initially. But then he also got an injury and sort of added strapping to his kicking leg. So they were basically missing, they were actually still playing for a large amount of time. I think Mo'unga pretty much played full 80 minutes but just didn't kick. I think he maybe got subbed about 75 but just never took a kick. And Havili must have had a pretty solid 60-65 minutes out there too, but only kicked once or maybe twice. Certainly initially in the first half he was the kicker, but from some stage in the first half, basically the halfbacks, Bryn Hall initially, and then he got subbed, and then Mitchell Drummond, the substitute halfback, both of them started taking shots at goal and were both successful. So yeah, pretty interesting. Didn't use the All Black kicker, which they haven't done for the first sort of like month of the competition. Your sort of backup fullback Havili, backup fullback kicker Havili gets injured, leg injury too. So you're going to go to your halfbacks, and then you use both of them, and they're both successful. So yeah, there you go. A little bit of weirdness going on there, but Crusaders, not only showing depth in almost every other kind of metric over the last 3 or 4 years, but now they've got essentially 4 quality kickers, that can kick you points. So well done to the Crusaders, as per usual, right? And then yeah, so like we said there, 5 tries and 4 conversions, 1 to Drummond, 2 to Hall, and 1 to Havili. But for the Highlanders as well, tries to Jonah Nariki and Michael Collins, and a penalty to Josh Ioane. So yeah, Highlanders, reasonable. Like they were in the fight there for a while, as you'd expect. Kind of kept it fairly dogged. I thought they'd probably take it into the second half actually before they got cut open, but really the floodgates opened somewhere around sort of 30-minute mark, so maybe a little bit earlier than I thought, maybe a little bit weaker than I thought from the Highlanders there, involving a derby, coming off that confidence boosting win the week before against the Brumbies in Canberra. But really, by half time, it was a bit of a done deal. And so yeah, 20-point win there to the Crusaders. Well done in that derby. That being their 3rd New Zealand derby in a row. Their first at home after they lost to the Chiefs initially, beat the Blues in Auckland, and now they've beaten the Highlanders back in Christchurch. So 3 New Zealand derbies in a row. Pretty difficult, generally speaking, to get an initial loss where they were winning at half time and were well in their game with the Chiefs, but then came up short in the second half, got blanked I think in the second half from memory, but then to be very efficient against both the Blues and Highlanders, shows that the Crusaders have still got a fair amount in the tank for going for that four-peat, or their fourth title in a row this year. They're pretty serious about it. So yeah, moving on to the second game. I believe this game kind of got moved at some stage. I was just going off the Super Brew website, which is not the official website, on Friday. I believe this initially was a Friday night match in Melbourne, but it actually got moved to a Saturday afternoon game, Saturday lunchtime game, like a very sort of like early afternoon game, and I think they took it on the road in terms of Victoria country. I think they took it to Ballarat, an hour, 2 hours, whatever, outside of Melbourne. So yeah, it was a little bit of a Victoria country game in Ballarat, and it was on a Saturday afternoon, so it wasn't Melbourne, it wasn't Friday night. So yeah, we had the Rebels at home to the Sharks in Ballarat, I believe, and the Sharks won 36-24. So yeah, well done to the Sharks there. So for the Rebels, tries to Anarurangi, Isa Nasarane, Marika Korobiti, 3 conversions to Andrew Deacon and a penalty to Andrew Deacon. For the Sharks, tries to Kerwin Bosch, Mekazola Mapimpe, 2, probably should have been 3, Michael Tambui and Andre Oosthuizen. 4 conversions for Kerwin Bosch and a penalty for Kerwin Bosch. So pretty good day at the office for Kerwin Bosch after he came back, or he was missing in action last week against the Hurricanes. I believe I heard in the commentary that it was like a bereavement, family death or family illness. So that's why he was missing last week against the Hurricanes. I didn't know why that was the case. But he was able to get back to Australia and play their 3rd away game. And yeah, got a try, got 4 conversions, got a penalty. It's pretty busy. So well done to Kerwin Bosch, well done to the Sharks. Did what you needed to do there. It's 2 wins from 3 on the road, and then they get a look at the Reds to finish things up. Pretty dangerous Reds, as I think we'll find out a little bit later as we get through some of these games. So, third game of the round was the Chiefs at home to the Brumbies in Hamilton, and it was 26-14 to the Brumbies. So yeah, what a boil over that was. Huge result for the Brumbies. Congratulations there. There was some sort of stat about not having won in New Zealand since 2014 or something like that. So I think it had been a pretty solid, 5, 6, maybe even 7 years. I think it was 2014 or 2015. It's a long time anyway, and more than 10 games, I believe, that they haven't won in New Zealand. So to come over after getting that, after losing in extra time to the Highlanders last week, you've got to pick yourself up, come over to Chiefs country, and come to New Zealand, come to Hamilton, and that's a 3-0 Chiefs as well. I didn't really give you too much of a shot, and I think we'll see in some of the Super Brew community predictions, not too many people gave you a shot. But you really controlled the game. I watched the extended highlights of it, and it was by no means a lucky win or like refereeing issues or anything like that. It was just Brumbies dominance really from start to finish, or certainly Brumbies dominance first half, and then just good enough to just retain what you'd created or what you'd started in the first half, and you didn't let it slip, or didn't let it slip meaningfully, and won quite convincingly. So well done to the Brumbies there, especially like not having Falau Fainga, and there and I believe there was 1 or 2 other cases there of I don't believe he started Joe Powell, so a halfback. So there was I thought the Brumbies were taking it sort of lightly and almost like writing that game off, keeping a few players in cotton wool and or just not travelling or not taking them to New Zealand. But certainly not the case. Great win for the Brumbies, so well done. Certainly showing that they're a force to be reckoned with, definitely in the Australian conference, and perhaps later on in the competition. Sticking with Australian teams, 4th game of the round was the Reds finally at home in the tournament to the Sunwolves from Brisbane, and the Reds won that game 64-5. So they destroyed the Sunwolves 64-5. So yeah, let's try and quickly get through this one. For the try scoring, it's pretty massive. Tries to Isaac Lucas, Joshua Nasser, Hamish Stewart, Tate McDermott 2, James O'Connor, Lachlan Salakai Latu, Hunter Paisami, Taniala Tupou, and William Wright. So kind of absolute feast there. And then conversions, 1 to Bryce Hegarty and 6 to Jock Campbell. For the Sunwolves, tried to Siosai Fafita. Yeah, so absolute spanking there for the Sunwolves. Reds just turned up at home after, like I've said many times on this podcast, I really do rate the Reds, and for them to have 3 away games in Canberra, in Johannesburg, in Buenos Aires, ridiculously difficult start to their season, and kind of predictably, really, or unsurprisingly, they went 0-3. And it was going to be interesting to see what kind of response they could muster, just in terms of setting the tone for the rest of their season, and just kind of what kind of confidence they had. Obviously after losing 3 straight, even though they were well in the game. Actually, they were well in all 3 games that they lost, and even picked up 2 losing bonus points against the Brumbies and the Lions, and were winning at half time against the Jaguares. So it was going to be interesting to see that, although you'd started the season, with horrific travel and you were 0-3, what were you really going to do when you got back home? And the result is, 64-5. So obviously it's the Sunwolves, and I think this is definitely the death nail of the Sunwolves. Like I've sort of said that from the start of the season, I'd like to see them stay in the competition. I might be reversing my ideas on that. I might talk about that a little bit more once we get through all the games. But I guess essentially I would like to see a 15-team comp retained. So I guess my thinking up until perhaps the last week, the last 2 weeks, or the last couple of rounds for the Sunwolves has been, maybe they are just good enough to be that 15th team. But I think the way they played against the very experimental / sort of academy B team Chiefs at home, and now there's an absolute hiding away in Brisbane, I think it is actually starting to be very clear that it's just not acceptable. Like, the resources that Japanese rugby is putting into them is not enough. Sanzo is not stepping in there and funding / helping an expansion team like the Sunwolves disproportionately, which probably needs to happen as well. And then, so everybody's playing on 1-year contracts there, right? Because the reality, or the official word is, there's no Sunwolves 2021. So, it's a team of mercenaries. It's almost, like a poor man's barbarians. Very few Japanese players left in the team now. No real Japanese backing in terms of Japanese rugby. The support in Tokyo for their Chiefs game was very good. So, there's still that sort of commercial / fan support potential, but Japanese rugby is just completely cold on the Sunwolves now. It's basically over. And even the cavalry, even the mercenaries from South Africa and New Zealand, the Pacific Islands, can't wallpaper over just how bad this team is now. It's starting to fall into that Southern Kings zone of no return, I think. So yeah, sorry about that, Sunwolves supporters, but starting to feel, even I really am a big fan of having 15 teams, having the Sunwolves, a meaningful, better Sunwolves in the competition, a truly well-funded, well-resourced primarily Japanese national team, a la the Jaguares in Argentina. I'm a big fan of something like that, but that's just not the reality of what the Sunwolves team is now. And so I think we are starting to legitimately say sayonara. So 64-5, rough. Hopefully it's not going to be 7, 8, 9, 10 games like that to finish out the Sunwolves chapter, but it could well be, especially some of those road games in New Zealand and or South Africa. Could be pretty dangerous for the competition's integrity, really. So yeah, well done to the Reds though. I am kind of taking something away from you a little bit because I'm saying it's just the Sunwolves, but that's an awesome response to such tough competition, such tough travel to start your season, and you've really come back and set tone. So yeah, sort of vindicating me or making me feel a little bit vindicated with that result. Obviously, got to see how they go next couple of weeks, get through to 6 rounds. I believe their 6th round game might be against the Crusaders in New Zealand, so that will be an absolute litmus test. I think they've got another game at home, round 5. So hopefully they can, for their season, they can, back up this performance against the Sunwolves with another good performance next week. In fact, yes, of course they do. They've got the Sharks at home, round 5. So they've got 2 home games. Obviously, just beat the Sunwolves, like we said, thrash the Sunwolves, like we said, and then they're going to have a game 4, or 4th game road trip Sharks, who are 2 wins and a loss, so doing very well. But yeah, it may be one of those cases where the Sharks perhaps rest players, perhaps even send a few key players home early. I'm not sure if that's the thinking, but that happens, or that can often happen with South African teams or travelling teams, primarily South African teams that have to play 4 games on the road. If they do manage to get 2 or 3 wins in the first 3 games, often that 4th game can be they might send a few guys home early, basically just to get some extended rest and focus on more winnable games, back home. So, the Reds might get an experimental Sharks or a weekend Sharks, so they might well be able to do a fair amount of damage, second time round at home for round 5. That'll be an interesting game to follow and to see what happens with the selections for the Reds and for the Sharks. And then obviously, like I said, the litmus test for them will be round 6 when they've got the Crusaders away. That's going to be a huge game to see, can they go 3-3 for their season, or, can they beat the Sharks, obviously, first of all. But if they do that, and then they're 2-3, can they go to New Zealand and put in a good performance, get a win, like the Brumbies over the Chiefs, and be 3-3 for their season. If that's the case, then I'll feel very, very vindicated in terms of my, initially being bullish on the Reds as being one of my top 2 Australian teams. So yeah, good luck to the Reds over the next couple of weeks. Definitely going to be, well, I think, like I said, 4th week on the road Sharks. It's definitely a winnable game for you. And then, round 6 Crusaders in Christchurch. That's going to be tough. So yeah, good luck for the next couple of weeks. So fifth game of the round was the Stormers at home to the Jaguares in Cape Town, and it was 17-7 to the Stormers. So yeah, that's the 3rd home game in 4 rounds for the Stormers, and I believe they have a 4th home game against the Blues in round 5. So definitely, making hay while the sun shines, which actually is the wrong metaphor, or the wrong euphemism, or whatever you want to call it, there, because if you watch the Stormers Jaguares game, there was no sunshine. It was pretty bad conditions. It was very wet, but they won. They won there. They won in the wet. Sort of ruined the spectacle quite a lot. Both teams played with energy. It was fairly high quality, especially in the second half. The game opened up a lot, but 17-7 sort of says it right. So yeah, there was tries to Ruhan Nel, Herschel Yanchis, 2 conversions to Willemse and a penalty to Willemse. For the Jaguares, there was a try to Rodrigo Bruni and a conversion to Domingo Miotti. So yeah, just 2 tries to 1. It wasn't that down, but the conditions basically said, we're not getting a try fest here. So well done to the Stormers, pretty efficient again. Got themselves out to a 17-0 lead there at one stage. Conceded once, almost conceded quickly again. The correct refereeing decision was made to disallow a second Jaguares try, which would have made things very exciting. Would have been like 2 tries in 2 minutes, sort of things for the Jaguares. They may well have been 14-17 or 17-14 with 10 minutes to go had that try been allowed. But unfortunately, there was an offside player right at the start of the play or the build-up. So yeah, correct call was made, but a little bit disappointing for the game because the Warriors never really looked like they were going to get back, the 10-point deficit after that. Basically the Stormers were very efficient in the last 10 minutes. So yeah, what up to the Stormers? 4 from 4 or 4-0. I haven't really gotten on the Stormers train. I just haven't been on that bandwagon. But I think I do have to defer and say, you're the only unbeaten team now. The Brumbies fell off last week. The Chiefs have fallen off this week. Crusaders have had a loss to the Chiefs. So all those big teams that are sort of there or thereabouts with you, or that we think are there or thereabouts with you, they've all had losses. You're the only team that's 4-0. Obviously, like I've said, 3 of those 4 games have been at home, and the one away game has been in Johannesburg, which is still South Africa. So you haven't done a lot of travel yet, very minimal travel. But you've got 4 wins from 4, and you've got a 4th home game. Coming up round 5 against the Blues team, which will have confidence, as we'll talk about soon. But again, it's a very winnable home game for you. You could well be 5 from 5 with 4 home wins as of next week. And I think that's what we would expect. So great start to the season for the Stormers. Well done. So yeah, final game of the round, 6th game, was also in South Africa. It was the Bulls at home to the Blues in at Pretoria, Loftus Versfeld. And it was 23-21 to the Blues. So yeah, Blues extremely late. Again, injury time win. That would be the 3rd injury time or extra time win in the last 2 rounds. There was 2 injury time or extra time wins last week, and then this one, Teddy Black kicked a penalty in extra time to win it. So, and unfortunately for me and my picks, I've been on the losing side of all 3 of those extra time wins or extra time losses. So yeah, it was a little bit rough. Again, I watched extended highlights of that. I think the Blues, you'd have to say, pretty lucky. Although in another way, let's go through the scoring, I suppose. So for the Bulls, tries to Jandre Rudolph, Morné Steyn. Yeah, Morné Steyn getting a try. Conversion to Mane Libok, and 3 penalties to Morné Steyn. For the Blues, tries to Stephen Perifetta, Tom Robinson, and Mark Tellier. Conversion to Otedi Black and 2 penalties to Otedi Black. Yeah, and the second one of those was the match winner in extra time. So yeah, you'd have to say though, 3 tries to 2 to the Blues, so fair enough, attacking, enterprising. They also had quite a long range movement that resulted in a try, eventually disallowed, again correctly, much like the Jaguares Stormers game. There was that disallowed Jaguares try. The Blues also had a long build-up review that went against them and denied a try, and fair enough. So the Blues 3 tries to 2, and could have had a 4th. So yeah, a lot of enterprise there, but I would still say they were a little bit lucky. Teddy Black leaving a few points there out on the tee, although he did kick the winning penalty in extra time, like I said a few times. So got the one I guess that counted the most. But yeah, the Bulls will probably feel pretty unlucky about that. Any team does right that loses in extra time. But yeah, definitely a bit of a dogfight again. Weather not great, but fairly good rugby being played. I thought the Bulls actually were far more enterprising than I've thought of them over the last few years, or certainly this season, post Andre Pollard. They were up for it. They played pretty well, but I think the Blues finishing out wide was really actually quite exceptional. If you watch that game or the extended highlights, Mark Tellier's try is a fantastic finish from Mark Tellier. He's covered very well by Halat, the Bulls fullback, but he still manages to essentially power through him and another player coming across in the cover tackle. and manages to place the ball to a really great finish against very good defense. And also the try to Stephen Perifetta, that was essentially completely created by Matt Duffy, who showed amazing athleticism in the air, and then stood his defender up, provided an offload or a pass, a ball to Stephen Perifetta to latch onto and score, go over in the tackle. So those two tries were top quality tries, top quality finishing, like I said, in relatively bad conditions. So well done to the Blues there, but I think a little bit lucky. But you need that right when you're on the road, as they are. So those were the games, and those were basically people, the scoring movements, or who scored what basically in the games, right? With a little bit of commentary around it from me. So let's just go through. So let's go to the Super Brew community, and let's go through what did the Super Brew community, what were their expectations of that round and those performances. And I will tell you basically my margins, or what I picked and my margins, and also what the community thought was going to happen and what happened or didn't happen. So let's quickly go through. Just going to recap the scores there and tell you the Super Brew community of 200,000. What did we pick, or what did they pick? So first game, Crusaders at home, 33-13 over the Highlanders. I'll restart that, try and keep it consistent. So Crusaders at home to the Highlanders, 33-13 to the Crusaders. Community expectation was 99% that the Crusaders would win that game. So that was a pretty high expectation. Game 2, Rebels at home to the Sharks. It was 36-24 to the Sharks. Now that was an 86% prediction that the Sharks would win away against the Rebels. I find that quite surprising. I'm pretty sure, I definitely backed the Sharks there, but I didn't think that the community would back the Sharks so highly there, especially after the Rebels beat the Waratahs last week at home, or the week before at home. I thought that would be maybe a little bit more of an even-handed game with the Rebels being at home, and obviously the Sharks coming off a pretty convincing loss to the Hurricanes too, and having to travel from New Zealand to Australia, blah blah blah, even having to travel to, like I said, I believe it was Ballarat, so sort of like go to Victoria country. But basically everybody was on board the Sharks train and they delivered. Third game was Chiefs at home to the Brumbies, and the Brumbies won 26-14. That was a 3% expectation from the community. So 200,000 people picking, only 3% picked a Brumbies win there. So I think you have to be a pretty die-hard Brumbies supporter to say, like my little bit weakened, a little bit experimental Brumbies team is going to go over to New Zealand, where we haven't won for 5, 6, 7 years, and beat a 3-0 Chiefs at home. But that's exactly what you did, and you did it comfortably. So well done for that. That was a great result, or great upset result. I certainly did not pick that. Fourth game was the Reds at home to the Sunwolves, and the Reds won 64-5. So community expectation there was 68%. So I kind of feel like the Rebel Sharks should have probably been a sort of like a 66% game to the Sharks, and I kind of feel like the Reds Sunwolves should have been more like that 85-90% game to the Reds. Like I feel like the community expectations were off with those games. I mean, the Sharks and the Reds were both favoured to win, but I think that the Reds should have been favoured to win more against the Sunwolves than the Sharks were favoured to win against the Rebels. But anyhow, the two teams that were expected to win, they did win. Fifth game there, Stormers at home to the Jaguares. Stormers won 17-7. That was a 93% expectation by the community. I have to say, I was on the outlier side there. I was part of that 7% who was expecting or hoping for a Jaguares upset, big upset. But didn't get it. Basically, I based that. I talked about this on Friday, I think, pre-rounds, but just wasn't really convinced by the Stormers' 3-0 record at that time. Thought they were a touch lucky. Obviously, an extra time win against the Lions in Johannesburg. You have to say that's a touch lucky. And I just wasn't very impressed by their Hurricanes performance. They just put away my team just categorically. Not so impressive against the Bulls, but won, and then obviously extra time stole it against the Lions. So that was the true reality of what they were coming back to Cape Town with. So yeah, I wasn't just like I said. I now pretty much paid my ticket and I'm boarding the Stormers train, but I have been kind of negative then, or not as convinced as others, I think, about them, and I thought the Jaguares might have been a little bit of a trip-up game, a little bit of a make-you-think game for the Stormers, but I think the Stormers actually were very good round 4 against them there. I think that they were more like the first round game against the Hurricanes. It was very efficient and dominant, rather than luck or a dogfight. And I think they also sort of got helped by the fact that the weather in Cape Town was pretty atrocious, and I think that really worked against the Jaguares and what they were trying to do by playing 15-man rugby, or certainly a wider game. So that really went against them, or really helped the Stormers there, and really sunk my pick, my upset pick. So yeah, well done to the Stormers. Like I said a few times, 4-0, and the community is right behind you there. 93% of 200,000 people were picking you to win that one. And then the final game, 6th game of the rounds, Bulls at home to the Blues, and the Blues won 23-21. That was a 34% expectation. So yeah, a little bit of an underdog. Definitely an underdog win there, an upset win there, but not crazy. Two-thirds picked one way, a third picked another way. It's an upset win, but not a crazy upset. So well done to the Blues. Good hustle on the road, and then we'll see what you've got. Second game against the Stormers in Cape Town. Can you break that 4-0 run? Can you snap it, or do you go home 1-1 and then have to take on the Hurricanes? But so essentially, again, going through that, you've got Crusaders winning 99% expectation, Sharks winning 86% expectation, you've got Brumbies winning 3% expectation, Reds winning 68% expectation, Stormers winning 93% expectation, and you've got the Blues winning 34% expectation. So 4 games certainly went to play, as the community would expect. A little bit of an upset for the Blues late there, and then just a massive boil over by the Brumbies beating the Chiefs. A huge upset. So that's the way it worked. So I'm just going to quickly go through my picks, and how close was I. Then I want to have a look at players, top 3 players, top 3 teams, and then that might be it, because I've already got through 30 minutes here. Rambler. So first one, Crusaders. Like I said, Crusaders won against the Highlanders. I've said the scores so many times, but just maybe one more time. I think I've really got to get more efficient at this. So Crusaders 33-13. I had the Crusaders by 16. Crusaders won by 20. So getting close there. Game 2, Sharks 36, Rebels 24. I had the Sharks by 8, and the Sharks won by 12. So again, pretty decent pick there. If I can pick it within 5 points, I get a margin point in the fantasy league or whatever. So that's why I'm saying it's a pretty decent pick. Brumbies 26, Chiefs 14. I had the Chiefs by 15, and the Brumbies won by 12. So well off there, as was basically everybody. Reds 64, Sunwolves 5. I had the Reds by 10, and the Reds won by 59. So what can you say there? Stormers 17, Jaguares 7. I had the Jaguares by 5. That was my big upset underdog pick, and the Stormers won by 10. So well off there. and Blues 23, Bulls 21, or Blues beat the Bulls, 23-21. I had the Bulls by 8, and the Blues won by 2 in the extra time. So yeah, so for my picking there, 3 from 6 for the week, pretty poor. Definitely should have backed the Jaguares, but I did. Maybe lesson learned there a little bit. I don't think anybody could really have picked, well, only 3% of 200,000 people could have picked, the Rugbies to win that game in New Zealand. And then obviously, Blues, extra time win over the Bulls. Now, what are you going to do, right? So, could have been 4 from 6, more often than not, probably would have been 5 from 6, right? The Chiefs had actually turned up and played rugby. But there you go, 3 from 6 was my picks for the week, so not so great. But yeah, probably should have done a bit better. Probably should have really got 4 out of 6 for that. So let's have a look at top 3 players. So I want to keep this kind of short. I'm just going to go through and tell you some players, and then basically tell you why, or try and justify why I've come up with these top 3 players, and then do something similar for the top 3 teams. These are 2 things I like to do every round. I'm going to start sort of, chronologically, or by round, by game inside of the round. So I'm going to start with the Crusaders, or players from the Crusaders. I've got 2 players here actually. So the first player is George Bridge, who was playing on the wing there for the Crusaders, and then Cullen Grace, who I believe started 6, but almost kind of played half the game as a lock, I think, where you could argue the toss how they actually play him. He's kind of like a lock, but they're playing him at 6, or he started 6. So George Bridge was Crusaders winger, and Cullen Grace was Crusaders flanker. So I've got those 2 players. Just want to go through some of their stats. So for George Bridge, he ran for 81 metres, 6 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks, 3 offloads. He had a try assist and a try, and then 4 tackles. So didn't do too much defensively, didn't have to do too much defensively, but that offensive production was impressive. And then Cullen Grace, like I said, blindside, ran for 57 metres, 3 clean breaks, a try assist, 15 tackles with no misses, and 2 turnovers. So, that's just an incredibly great game. Backing up his performance from the week before, where, I had him as one of my top 3 players last week too. I think I had him at number 2. He had 19 tackles in that one and 2 turnovers, plus, a number of other things. I think, last week he had 19 tackles, 2 turnovers, 10 line-out wins, and 3 line-out steals, which gave him number 2 spot for me in my rankings. And 57 run meters, a try assist, 15 tackles, 2 turnovers. I'm not even talking about his line-out stats, but that's an incredibly good game. That's a very good with very good stats there, and he's just showing that he's a real threat. He's a real up-and-comer in New Zealand rugby. He's putting back-to-back performances together. I think Tom Christie's also looking kind of similar with his work rate for the Crusaders. So a couple of exciting prospects, on the make at the Crusaders in 2020. So those are basically 2 Crusaders. I've just given mention of both of their performances because I think they're both very good. But obviously I'm going to have to whittle this down to a top 3. So I'm just going to continue on though. I've got the next game I focused on, or the next player, was Sharks player, Makazola Mapimpe. So for Mapimpe, he ran for 111 metres, he had a try assist and 2 tries. And his try assist was him actually just throwing the ball basically to Kerwin Bosch. For some reason he didn't want to dot down and score a hat trick. Otherwise, he would have had 3 tries. So instead he's got a try assist, over the line, a little bit unprofessional, you'd have to say, and then 2 tries. Didn't do a lot on defense. In fact, was pretty poor on D. 2 tackles, 3 missed tackles, but that's kind of the way he rolls. But in that game, 111 run meters and essentially 3 tries. You've got to give him a bit of a hat tip shout out there. Moving on to the next game, I've got 2 players. and that's the Brumbies, 2 players from the Brumbies in the upset win against the Chiefs. So I have Tom Banks, their fullback, and Pete Samu, who I believe was playing 8, certainly a flanker or a back rower for the Brumbies. So let's have a look at those 2 players and see some of their stats. So Tom Banks at the back, fullback, he ran for 102 metres, 4 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks, an offload, a try assist and a try. Didn't do much defensively, just the 1 tackle, but that's some impressive attacking stats against the Chiefs team. So you're playing away against the Chiefs and you come up with 100 plus run meters, try assist, etc. It's a really good performance from Tom Banks there at fullback. But I had to also show Pete Samu, or Pete Samu's stats. He ran for 37 metres, 4 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks. He scored 2 tries, put in 7 tackles and 1 a turnover. So again, a very all-round kind of performance there from your back rower. Probably not quite enough run meters for him to make my top 3, I must say. But I just thought, scoring 2 tries, almost running for 40 metres, getting a turnover, defenders beaten, etc. It's very busy performance, 7 tackles. Just all around very good performance and deserved a shout out. And then my final player that I'm going to pick up on is Herschel Yanchis from the Stormers. The Stormers beat a Warriors game. So Yanchis ran for 73 metres. Remember, he's a 9, so he's a halfback. He ran for 73 metres, which I think was best in the game. 3 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks, scored a try, 6 tackles and a turnover. So again, incredible game. That's a very, very good game, very busy game, very well-rounded game from your halfback. I believe he was subbed. He definitely was subbed. I'm just trying to remember when in that game. I was probably around 65-minute mark, so he didn't play full 80, didn't play anywhere near a full 80, but he got away 80 passes, I believe, off the top of my head. Like I said, a try, 6 tackles, turnover, run for 70 plus metres, 3 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks. I mean, it's an incredibly good effort. Really good, well-rounded performance there from Herschel Yanchis. He's been in my top 3 players at least once or twice already, this year. So really making quite a statement, quite a push, and really stamping his mark, I think, on hey, put me in that Springbok jersey, put me in that 23 for sure, but maybe even start me. He's had a great start to his season with the Stormers. He's been, I guess he's been a huge reason why they are currently 4-0. It's just very consistent, very good, week in, week out. Although, in saying that, he wasn't there last week from memory, their away game, but, the games he's played in those first 4 rounds, he's been really, really good. So I'm just going to, one more time, just shout out all the players there because I need to make it a top 3. That's just my rule, but I've actually got 6 players here. So basically a top 6 shout out goes to George Bridge, Colin Grace, Makusola Mapimpe, Tom Banks, Pete Samu and Herschel Yanchis. And now I'm going to whittle those 6 down to 3. I actually didn't put them in order, which is probably a little bit silly of me. And it's very silly of me. But I'm just going to quickly go a little bit off the cuff here. And I'm going to go number 1, Cullen Grace. So as a 6/lock, full 80 minutes, 57 metres, 3 clean breaks, a try assist, 15 tackles, and 2 turnovers. That's a huge game, and that's just really impressive. So I give him the hat tip over George Bridge, and I also put him as my number 1 for the round, my number 1 player for the round. Number 2 is Herschel Yanchis. Again, just like I said before, 73 run meters, 3 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks, a try, 6 tackles, a turnover. Very busy game, great work from a 9. And then my number 3 will be Tom Banks from the Brumbies. He really lit things, got things going at the back there for them, and was really exciting in that first half. So Tom Banks, 102 run meters, 4 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks, 1 offload, a try assist, a try, Yeah, not too much defensively, but you've got to say you need that kind of spark from someone in your back three. You need someone to go big, get 100 plus run meters for you. If you're coming to difficult places, i.e. like playing the Chiefs away in Hamilton, you need someone in your back three to really step up and have a stellar night like that. So yeah, he's my number 3. So yeah, just one more time recap there. Colin Grace, Crusaders, number 1. Herschel Yankees, Stormers, number 2. And Tom Banks for Brumbies, number 3. That's my top 3 for round 4. And I'm going to go through top 3 teams, and then I think we might have to just call it there. I was going to put the Six Nations into this one, but I think I might have to take a little bit of a break and then come back and have a quick run through of the Six Nations, because this is getting a bit long, right? So yeah, top 3 teams. I've got 5 teams here, so I'm just going to shout out these 5 teams, and then I really will tell you my 3 best teams. So I've got the Brumbies for their win away against the Chiefs. I've got the Stormers for their win at home against the Jaguares, and I've got the Crusaders for their win at home against the Highlanders, which was their 3rd New Zealand Derby win in a row. Their 3rd New Zealand Derby game in a row, and their 2nd win in a row. And also it was a Highlanders team coming off beating the Brumbies in Canberra. So I think that those are some justifications. Obviously, Brumbies away against the Chiefs, who are 3-0. Stormers at home against the Jaguares. I think that's kind of like the 2 best teams in South Africa, or the African Conference at the moment. And then, like I've just said, Crusaders at home against the Highlanders, who the week before went over to Canberra and beat the Brumbies. I think those were probably the 3 best matchups of the round in terms of teams playing teams. And then obviously the Brumbies won, the Stormers won, and the Crusaders won. So I think they basically, Brumbies my number 1 team for the round, Stormers my number 2 team, and Crusaders my number 3 team. Again, generally with team of the week, I base it on obviously who are you playing, and then did you win away or did you win at home. So I think Brumbies playing the Chiefs, the 3-0 Chiefs away, you have to say that was the performance of the round. That's team of the week. Stormers playing the Jaguares, very good team, but you are at home. And then so you get my number 2. And then Crusaders playing the Highlanders, they've got some confidence, but they've been a bit patchy. Jury's out. Are they going to be wooden spoon New Zealand team this year? It's looking quite likely that they're not going to be a top 8 team, and probably not going to be a top 3 team in New Zealand, and probably not even going to be a top 8 team in the competition. But the week before, they went to Canberra, did a number, toppled the Brumbies. So confidence was high. Should have been expecting a really big ding dong battle, and the Crusaders pretty clinically put them away at home. So that's why you get my number 3. Obviously, I see a couple more teams there as well. Honourable mention, shout out, obviously to the Reds. I mean, you're putting 60 plus points on a team, even if it is the Sunwolves. Like I've said so many times, that first 3 weeks of the competition was that's just terrible, just absolute horrendous schedule. Having to go Canberra, Johannesburg, Buenos Aires, flip back to Brisbane. So to come and play the Sunwolves there and smash them and put 60 plus points on them, I think that's a really, really great effort. But unfortunately, it is just the Sunwolves, and you were at home, so you don't get on my top 3. And then also the Sharks, Sharks winning away again, so that's two of 3 games on the road that in the Australia-New Zealand 4-game trip, 2 wins from 3 games, so very well done. Great trip so far. One more game against the Reds next week, but again, you're playing the Rebels, a pretty patchy, up and down, mostly down Rebels that's lost to the Sunwolves earlier in the competition. So you're not exactly killing giants here. So well done on your away win, but it was kind of expected, I think, and you basically did what we thought you'd do. Maybe you did it just a little bit better than we thought. So sorry, not making my top 3 for the teams of the week, but well done Reds, well done Sharks, and obviously well done Blues as well for a late win and ruining the party there in Pretoria. But yeah, so Brumbies number 1 team, Stormers number 2, and Crusaders number 3 for round 4, in my opinion. Cullen Grace, best player. Herschel Yanchis number 2, and Tom Banks number 3 my players. So yeah, that's that. Top 3 players, top 3 teams. I always like to get through that. Yeah, hopefully I can make these a bit shorter in the future, but working on it, working on my presentation, right? But it's all good fun. I love it. So yeah, the last thing I'm going to do here, just a couple of minutes, I think. I'm just going to say, basically, in my world, in my opinion, in my thoughts now, I just want to say goodbye to the Sunwolves. Yeah, I think it is time that everybody parted ways. There's just not enough Japanese talent inside of the team. The players that are coming to the Sunwolves are like journeymen, really, from New Zealand, the Pacific Islands, South Africa, even Australia, even Europe in some respects, or limited in some limited ways. It's starting to become a little bit embarrassing. So basically, from inside, Japanese rugby from inside has just completely abandoned the concept, and now Sansa can't even really prop it up with basically expat players. It's just becoming pretty embarrassing for the competition. So, and you play the Reds, are really travel-weary Reds that are certainly not competition leaders by any way, shape or form. In fact, they're 0-3 in the comp as that game started, and you get smoked by 60 plus points. It's kind of like time to say goodbye when those sort of results start coming in, especially they start coming in consistently. So yeah, I'm going to say basically, officially now in my world, goodbye to the Sunwolves. They do have my team, the Hurricanes, in round 5. That's going to be a rested Hurricanes who have won their last 2 and had a bye. So God only knows what the Hurricanes are going to do to the Sunwolves in round 5. Hopefully it's competitive. You got to think by competitive, maybe I mean 15-20 points, 15-20 point win to the Hurricanes. That would, that's probably competitive now, I think. But if there is another bloodbath, it's another like 40, 50, 60 point thrashing, it's just definitely going to cement, you're at the bottom of the ocean and you're gone, you've definitely been cut from Super Rugby. So what does all that mean? Well, I guess for my thinking, I really do think the 15 team format is good, and I think I'm even sort of on board really now with conference. So I think really what you've got to do is, retrench back to the force and say, massive mea culpa, I'm sorry, we made the wrong decision there. We need you back. We want 5 Australian teams. Even that could be up for debate, in the future, but, maybe for the next, 5-year period, we're going to give you stability. You're going to be definitely one of our 4 Australian teams, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But right now, you're going to be one of our 5 Australian teams. We might, merge, say, the Rebels and the Brumbies, or, cut the expansion sort of underperforming Rebels perhaps in the next 5 years, but we are going to keep you over in the West. We're going to keep you for geographic reasons, but we're also going to keep you for national reasons, i.e., we want someone representing us on the Australian West Coast. We've got Brisbane, we've got Sydney, we've got the opportunity of Canberra and or Melbourne, or maybe even a composite team that plays half its games in Canberra, half its games in Melbourne. So we've got our East Coast covered, we've got all that market done, we've got teams there, but we need a 5th team and or a 4th team maybe down the line that's representing, at a national, gives us like national coverage basically, gives us a West Coast coverage. And obviously it's good for South African teams. If they continue to be in the tournament, it's good for the Jaguares, and it's good for New Zealand teams, having that kind of pit stop between, South America, Africa, and Australia, New Zealand. So geographically, we need to kind of keep you in the comp, but just more importantly, we need you to have an Australian national presence, basically an East Coast, West Coast presence. and you've just shown like the fact that you've been cut and out of the tournament for a number of years, and you still have a team that's actually alive and kicking and playing in kind of alternative competitions, and you're massively bankrolled by a very passionate mining magnate out there, or businessman. It shows that we need to get on board with that, and harness that investment, harness that investment, that pride, that passion, and just keep a team out there in Perth. So for my thinking, I still don't want to see the competition go back to 14 next year. I want to see it at 15, but I think you just got to swap licenses here. You do say goodbye to that Sunwolves team, and you bring the Force back in. As hard as that might be for certain executives to say or do because of the politics of 3 or 4 years ago and the abandonment of the Force, I think you've really got to go back to them and say, hey, can we bring you back into the tent? We want your presence, basically. We want your geographic presence. We want your passion, your local homegrown support and players, and we want you geographically, if you know what I mean, for the competition. So yeah, that's my thinking. I think that Red's performance and possibly a week from now, Hurricanes' performance against the Sunwolves has basically solidified my thinking to be, sorry, Sunwolves just not good enough. You're not there. Even though you do have passionate crowds and support, you just don't have the backing from your own Japanese union, and now it's just becoming a little bit embarrassing, you being in the competition. So yeah, I've definitely flipped on that. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, sign out and say goodbye. I'll probably come back in the real world, real time, in half an hour, and do a Six Nations thing, but that's going to be a separate podcast, a separate short podcast. So yeah, thanks for listening, thanks for giving it a watch, thanks for listening if you did. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, the Rugby Gods Podcast. Give me a subscription or a subscribe there on YouTube, that'd be awesome. And on Facebook, give me a like if you can, like my page, the Rugby Gods Podcast, or at the Rugby Gods Podcast if you're looking for it on Facebook. So yeah, please like me on Facebook. You can find me at the Rugby Gods Podcast, or please subscribe to me here on YouTube, the Rugby Gods Podcast. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Hopefully build up those numbers. Give me some comments, give me some likes, but yeah, primarily give me some comments would be awesome, rugby related of course. And yeah, let's have a bit of banter, a bit of back and forth, either privately or publicly, I don't mind. And yeah, let's just enjoy what's going on at the moment in the world of rugby. Super Rugby going well, I think, on the whole, and obviously Six Nations going pretty well too, or pretty interesting out there as well at the moment. So yeah, lots going on in rugby. It's all pretty enjoyable and good times. So thanks a lot. I will be back in the real world, like I said, pretty soon. So I'm just gonna say goodbye. So ka kite noa. I'll see you again. Enjoy your rugby. Bye bye.